Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan and this is Jacqueline, and we're both from Parent Portfolio. We are parents to two lovely children. We are investors and entrepreneur. We review financial articles and share our insights, personal experience, and maybe tips that you can apply in your life. So the article that we'll be reviewing today, it's actually from Forbes magazine, and is titled How to Become a Self-Made Multi-Millionaire When Starting from Nothing. Like, not just millionaire, but multi-millionaire.
Right.
And before we kind of get into the article, right, and talk about the different bullet points here, we need to define what it really means to be a millionaire. Because a lot of people, especially I growing up, like when I heard the word millionaire, I thought someone was making $1 million every year.
Yeah, like that was their salary.
Yeah, but from a tax perspective, that is terrible. Because if you're making $1 million a year, then you can be taxed that much. I think wealthy people don't want to claim that they're making $1 million. But actually, when they say you're a millionaire, that's actually your net worth.
Right.
And net worth is the value of your assets minus your liabilities. So, for example, if you have $100,000 in stock, but only $25,000 in like consumer debt, that's $100,000 minus $25,000. So your net worth is $75,000. So people who have a net worth of $1 million or more is that their assets exceed their liabilities. So right. I just want to put that out there. So did I miss anything there?
I don't think so.
Okay. So once again, the title is How to Become a Self-Made Multi-Millionaire When Starting from Nothing.
Oh, and one more thing about the title.
Yes.
Some people, they kind of lump others when it says starting from nothing. I hear a lot of, well, it must be nice to have a family that can give you all this money to start. It's like, no. This article is starting from nothing. Yeah. There are people, and most millionaires in the United States are actually self-made millionaires. Not the majority of them did not inherit it. A lot of them created this wealth.
Yeah.
So
I think the article will touch on it, right, and how people can get there. I mean, let's see. So number one, right? So it says here are the 5 tips to help you on your path to financial independence and wealth. Number 1, and I like this one. It's adopt the right mindset. And this kind of goes back to what you're saying. People are saying, well, it must be nice. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I mean, if you look at the sub bullets here, they go, what are those mindsets? There's that abundance mentality. It says, believe that there is more than enough wealth to go around. And the other one says, a growth mindset. Having a growth mindset means you're willing to learn, adapt, and grow. You accept that there will be challenges and that it won't be easy, but you learn and improve as you face them. And I think that's really important. And that is something that we talk about all the time, especially with our kids, because once someone says it must be nice, well, I was born in this situation, I can't do anything. Like, that's the opposite of growth mindset. It's a fixed mindset, because you've already said, well, this is my situation, I can't get out of it.
Right. And now you've let something else define your capabilities.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy, right? I mean, I think everyone has a different start. I mean, you and I, we both grew up with single parent households. I mean, I talk about my mom all the time, where she was super frugal. I mean, she would literally cut coupons. I mean, her shoes, they have holes. That's another story from the time, but we didn't really grow from a wealthy background.
No.
But it took a mind saying that, can we do something? Or is this our situation forever? I mean, I'm pretty sure we had friends who we thought were wealthy, right? And I never thought we would ever become wealthy, but we never gave up, if that makes sense.
I think it also wasn't necessarily a goal to meet certain milestones, like I want to be a millionaire by this age. I mean, I don't even think my goal was ever to be a millionaire. It was always like, I want to get rid of this debt.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to feed my family, or I want to be able to have my kids do extracurricular activities. You know, those were the things that were my milestone, my goalposts.
And before we kind of go to the next bullet point here, it says here also in the growth mindset, you accept that there will be challenges and that it won't be easy, but you learn and improve as you face them. I say this saying all the time, like, I'm smarter today than I was yesterday, and there's something that I just learned, and to me I feel like that's learning, even if it's a little bit. At least I'm always improving, right? I like to always impart that to our kids, like, what can I teach you today so that one day when you grow up you can have that kind of growth mindset and move forward. This is number 2 here. Develop multiple streams of income. And I wonder if this kind of leans into the whole multimillionaire, but still, having multiple streams of income is actually a good suggestion in life in general. I mean, typically we have the 9-to-5 job, and that's great. I mean, we all start that way, but I think what's scary is that in reality we could be fired one day, right? And so having another source of income, even a side hustle, is kind of almost like financial insurance.
I think even in the beginning, before we went on this journey of parent portfolio, we had 9-to-5 jobs, but we were still looking for ways to have other streams of income, not necessarily through side hustles or anything like that, but we wanted to invest our money in different ways. We talked to our financial advisor, we put our money somewhere, knowing we didn't need it today or at that time, and so that it would become a stream of income later in life when we would need it. So we're not saying like everyone go get a side hustle, but there are other ways to be creative in creating another income stream for later in life.
So I'm going to read some of the suggestions they have in this article, and the funny thing is that we've actually did these things. So like in no particular order here, it just said invest in the stock market. I mean, that's kind of how we started. I mean, we had our 401k through our company, right? And then we're like, okay, we have this extra cash, it's just sitting in our savings account, we should do something more with it, right? So we actually invested in the stock market, and that's fine. It's very set and forget it. And then one day we talk about our kids' future more, and then I think you said, I read a book and I came back to you that same day and I said, okay, we're going
investing in real estate. And if you don't know the backstory, it could be another day, but I had been asking Jonathan, can we just buy a small piece of real estate? And the answer, the first 7 years of our marriage were, no, I don't want to change toilets. No, I don't want to deal with tenants. So I just said, okay. And then he reads this book that I suggested, and he turns around and says, we're finished. He closed the book. We're investing in real estate. I was like, who is this guy?
Well, I think it's really important here, like when investing in real estate, right, or doing any big financial thing, both people in the relationship have to be on the same page.
Right, and that's why I didn't go and buy a piece of land by myself.
I mean, so kudos to you for like sticking with the idea. I mean,
I kept planting seeds. You watch HGTV, doesn't that look like a fun project?
Yeah, that's fine. It looks really hard, you know? I mean, but I think you're always in the back, just waiting, or just,
I think so.
Yeah.
Just being patient.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of the go-getter, right? So I think once I said it, you were like, okay, you're on board already. Yeah. And I think a few months later, we bought our first investment property. We flipped it, and then 6 to 7 months later, I think we bought our next one. Did the same thing too, and then in 6 to 7 months we bought another. So like in 18 months we acquired 3 investment properties, right? I mean, but we did this together.
Yes.
Right. And like that, I mean, stocks, investing in real estate, and
again, those were long-term plans.
Yeah.
We never did those things to live off the cash flow of these houses. There's very little cash flow as it is today because these are long-term investments, right?
What the nice thing about real estate is the equity.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's where a lot of millionaires make their money. You know, I mean, stocks are good, don't get me wrong, but millionaires typically own real estate.
It's part of their portfolio.
Yeah. And so typically, historically, property values go up, right? So let's say, for example, you buy a property for $135,000, right? And let's say it was worth that much. Give it 5 or 10 years, right? That property could be worth, let's say, about $200,000 or $300,000. That's now the value. Over time, that debt gets paid down. That difference between value and debt is equity, which gets lumped in to the value, to their net worth. And so it's always part of their portfolio. And then the third one here, so we said stock market, invest in real estate. The third one is start a business. And that's something that once again, we did, but not really in a plan to, okay, I want to be a millionaire, right?
Yeah, like I said, we never had these milestones. These things just kind of evolved. You know, we always put our kids first. And so that's one reason why we invest in the stock market. That was more for us so that they wouldn't have to take care of us as we were old. But the real estate portion was with them in mind. And then parent portfolio, starting this business, just kind of naturally happened because we were so excited. We were like, if we can do this with full-time jobs, so can other people.
Yeah.
I mean, that was literally the genesis of parent portfolio.
Yeah. And what's really cool is that some of our friends, I mean, we run an online business, but we have friends who do a vending machine business, right? Or assisted living business, right?
Right. Whatever I think speaks to you, you can run a business with it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like storage facility, right? Or a laundromat. I mean, these things are not get rich schemes, right? They do take work, right? But it does give you flexibility. I mean, you probably will have to hustle like more than regular 40. It's a work-life balance kind of thing, right? But when we're talking about becoming a multimillionaire, there is no surprise that these people have some sort of business in their portfolio as well. So number 3, practice financial discipline. And the 3 major ones here are live below your means, budgeting, and avoid bad debt. Is there anyone that kind of speaks to you right now?
I mean, the first one is, well, they kind of go together for me, is live below your means and budgeting. You kind of have to create a budget based off what you have and kind of go from there. It's kind of how I see it. And then avoiding bad debts is just, if you can, do your best to not get into bad debt.
So a lot of people reach out to me, and some of them don't like it when we talk about live below your means, because I think for them, they're looking for some magic thing, right? But in reality, being a millionaire is kind of boring. It's not flashy.
It's very boring.
Yeah. So it's a simple lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the thing is, what we tell our kids is you can have anything you want. It might take time to save up for it, but you can almost have anything you want. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to do to make the money that you need to get it, and how long is it going to take to get that?
Yeah.
So I don't think. Yeah.
So it made me think of the thing where we're not car people, right? We have cars that are fully paid off and over 100,000 miles on it, right? But that's nothing against anyone who wants to buy their own car, right? As long as someone can budget for it, right? If their income can support that car, then more power to them, right?
Right. But there's a caveat. That budget section in that bullet point is very important, because people say, yeah, I can afford it. But do you have an emergency fund? Okay. So if you have a car that can get you from point A to point B right now, and it is serving its purpose, and you still do not have an emergency fund, I'm telling you, you still can't afford the new flashy car. Just because your bank account says you have enough every single month to pay for that additional car payment, do you have an emergency fund? Because when that new car breaks down or something happens to it, you run over a nail, you still have to pay for the tire service to fix it. So yeah, I think there's a there's a very small caveat there. It's like you can have everything you want as long as your needs are taken care of and you have a savings built up.
Yeah. So the next one is invest in yourself, and I really like this one. So 3 bullet points here is education. It says invest in your education, whether through formal degrees, certification, or self-study. Another one is networking and personal development. And I want to talk about education a little bit, and specifically self-study. Going back to our real estate journey, I didn't go to college for real estate or stuff like that. It all started with me reading a book. You mentioned the book, right? And I became so motivated. After that, I was like listening to podcasts every day on the drive to work. I was reading more books. And to be honest, some of that stuff was like over my head. But when I actually did it, going to personal development, I finally go, oh, that's what...
It all comes together.
Yeah, like learning is one part, then applying it, the actual application, that...
gives a whole nother experience.
Yeah. And then another one here is like networking. A lot of our success, I mean, we can't claim for ourselves.
No, and we never do.
Yeah, like I mean, we have a financial advisor, and
we have mentors.
Yeah, exactly, mentors, and I've actually, I mean, I don't want to say that they're financial mentors. They're actually good friends of us now. I mean, they're family friends, but it all started from a business transaction, and we were good to each other, and we just said, hey, come over, or they invited us over, and we got to know their family, and we just naturally met other people. And it kind of goes to like, if you treat people good, right, you know, they will treat you back, they will treat you good back. And all these people, I'm really grateful for them. Like, we could not get to where we are today without these people's help, and they're like one of our biggest fans. They're always cheering for us all the time. So even today, I didn't tell you, but got a phone call from someone, and they just said, hey, just want to see how you're doing. I don't need anything from you. I was just thinking about you. So I think you kind of guess what that is. But yeah, but anything you want to add to that?
Just in networking.
Yeah.
You know, you never know who's gonna be able to contribute, and also not just for you to gain, but you never know who you're gonna be able to help. So whenever I hear friends of mine or, you know, acquaintances that I know, even if I don't know them very well, if they say something about budgeting or something, if they're itching to learn, my ears perk up, and I turn around and I'm like, hey, are you looking to learn how to budget? Like, not that I can teach them everything, but like, I will definitely be happy to point them in certain directions, like, oh, I read this book, or I tried this method, you know, this worked for us. And so just sharing that knowledge, not just to gain something from anybody, but definitely what can you also put out there?
Yeah, I think from our experience, right, we met a lot of educated people, or people in those places, right? And they are more than happy to mentor. And now we're kind of at a place now where, like, all right, now we've reached a certain part now. I mean, we're not perfect, we're still learning, but it's like we're paying it forward, right? And we don't gain anything financial, because if anything, we want to see our friends and our peers be successful as well, right? And the really cool thing is that
goes back to that abundance mentality, right?
Where everyone can have something.
There's something for everyone. And it's like, when I see certain friends and I'm like, you're really good at this, like, you can turn this into a business. And it's like, no, I'm not trying to like inflate anyone's ego. This is truly how I've seen other people with that talent, you know, make it big. So number 5 here, it says take calculated risk. So of the 3, it's entrepreneurship, investing, and innovate. So I want to reiterate, it's calculated risk. So we don't see ourselves as, I mean, we like to be optimistic, right? But we very, very calculated, right? Yeah, I think when we started in our marriage, we were very, very conservative in our investing. We're like, we don't want to take any risk. If we get $1 back, that's great.
But then we kind of learn about, you know, getting more out of your dollar, right? Like leverage. I mean, when it comes, like, going back to the real estate, because that's one of our strengths right there, when we look at properties, I think we were thinking the year 2020. I think that summer I was analyzing like 50 properties, but only made offers on 5 because I was calculating the risk, right? Trying to say, all right, if we buy this today, how much are we going to cash flow based on these certain things? And it wasn't like, okay, we'll make $1. No, like there had to be enough buffer, right, to kind of take into account the bad times and then the nice times too. So there's a saying.
I think there's also, you have to put into account where we are in a certain point of our lives, right? Because just because those deals that you didn't put an offer on, that didn't mean that they weren't good deals. They just weren't good deals for us.
Correct, yeah.
But someone in a completely different situation who have more to risk, they could probably sweep up those properties, and they did, because they could risk a little bit more. Whereas we weren't in a very risky position. We did not have a lot to risk.
Yeah. And I'm reading here, it says entrepreneurship. It says starting and scaling a business involves risk, but the rewards can be substantial if done correctly. Conduct through market research, create a solid business plan, and be prepared to pivot when necessary. I think this one really speaks to me because we talk to some people who aspire to be entrepreneurs, right? And more power to them. And I want to be in the corner. But one thing I see they lack is really a business plan, right? And when things go wrong, and things will go wrong, right? You have to be ready to pivot.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people just jump ship.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's really saddening.
Well, then you can't really tell if the business was a flop because you didn't really give it much time or an effort. And I get it. Like, time, again, is very limited. It's the most limited resource that we all have. And so it's about knowing what kind of business you want to invest in, and something that would be worth your time, because otherwise you will waste your time.
Yeah. So kind of going back to this overall article, like how to be a multimillionaire. And millionaire, once again, is your net worth, the assets minus liabilities. So their real estate, their stock portfolio, their income streams are giving them assets, just giving them money. And if they control their consumer debt, they have less liability. That increases their overall net worth, especially when you have a portfolio. And having net worth, right, or becoming a millionaire, it takes time, right? Like real estate equity, stock, compounding interest, those things happen over time. I think one key thing is being mindful of taking advantage of the time you have now, so you can start investing, right? Because that property value will go up. That stock, historically will trend up over time. So those who are young, right, take advantage of the time that you have right now. I mean, I'm not saying you just go all crazy and just put all your money. You have to budget, right? But find some time in your portfolio. Just start investing, right? It will build up over time. Now, one question I want to kind of go back to, right, the topic is, I can't do it. Right? It says how to become a multimillionaire starting from scratch. So I think about one of our friends, right, who's like a young professional. He approached us about like buying a house, right? So I think about him, right? Not just in real estate, but how can anyone in general, how can they start on the path to financial independence, becoming a millionaire, or even retire comfortably? What are your thoughts?
I think a lot of it comes from within.
Mindset.
Mindset and true desire, right? Not just looking over and I want to be like them, or I want to be like him or her or whoever. It must be nice to be so and so in this position. But looking within yourself and really asking yourself, am I content with this? Because that's what you hear, right? People complain about the day in and the day out. Well, what can you do to change the day in and the day out? Because the next day is coming. So what are you going to do to make tomorrow different than today? And that's with that growth mindset, that invest in yourself, education. Even if you're not going to have an action tomorrow, what's the step that you're going to do today to get you closer to where you want to be in the future? And And so for us, that was always our kids, and making sure if something were to happen to us, they would be okay. They would have a starting point to, to carry them, hopefully to a not so bad future if we're not here to guide them. And so we always looked for ways to do that, whether that was investing in the stock market so that if something were to happen to us, they would have something, but always, I think, just it's very cliche, right? Find your why. Find your why and let that guide you. Because being a millionaire is just a status. It's just a definition. But it does not define who you are or how you get there.
Yeah.
Right? It's why do you want to be a millionaire? You have to peel the onion a few layers to really understand what are you waking up for every morning. What's going to get you out of bed? Because what's going to get you out of bed and be happy that you got out of bed, as opposed to like, oh, it's another day. Oh, it's Monday. Oh, thank God it's Friday. Like, I don't think we should be living our lives that way. So being a millionaire, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Mm-hmm. What's the big chunk underneath? I think that's where people need to really look inside themselves and draw that out. What does your ideal life look like? And I don't mean like, wake up and the beachy sand is in my background or whatnot. Like, be honest with ourselves.
I totally agree with that. And just to add to that, growth mindset, yes, but for those who don't have quote unquote resources, the saying that I always like is, when you lack resources, be resourceful. And so there's a library of knowledge that you can start reading for free, or you can have forums, communities, mastermind groups that you can kind of shadow people, right? I remember people would say, hey, next time you look at a house, can you bring me along with you? Because they're learning, right? And so there are opportunities where you don't have to spend money. The fact that you're just learning and making decisions already shows you're an investor, even though you don't have like maybe a physical property or a stock. But the fact that you're already thinking, going back to mindset, that is kind of the approach to take also. So
be resourceful.
So what about you? How far are you from being a millionaire? What are you doing today? And what are some things holding you back? Put in the comments down below and let us know. Once again, thank you for your time, and we'll see you later.